just wanna you. Girl, I like the way you move, really wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me, now it's time to show and prove. Love.
It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbing Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuche, and great to have you here with us once again. It's day 34. 34 days since over 200 girls were abducted in a town in Borno State, Chibok, from the government secondary school in Chibok. And we still don't have any sort of concrete explanations as to their whereabouts and whether they will be found anytime soon. Thankfully, it looks like operations have been stepped up to find their whereabouts and basically get them back. Lots of countries have gotten involved. The United States of America, the United Kingdom, France have all sort of sent at least intelligence personnel to help the Nigerian military tackle what has become sort of a global issue. We did have sort of a rough week on that front. We heard sometime during the week that certain military personnel did turn against their commandants from the who was in charge of rescuing these girls, apparently with regards to their remuneration and the fact that they were not necessarily happy with their upkeep. It obviously is mutiny, and I heard some of the officers have been apprehended, and I think justice will take its course with the military over there. But the most important thing is that these girls are still out there being held. A video was released with regards to the fact that the head of the Boko Haram sect, Abu Shekau, did send out a video and showed pictures of a number of girls who were supposed to be some of the girls who were abducted. Apparently some parents did go to identify some of them. Some other parents didn't identify all of them. We don't know if these were the girls or if there are even more girls that were kidnapped beforehand. Mr. President did travel to France, Paris, 2 days ago. Yesterday, and met with the president of France, with another presidents of neighboring countries, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and the Republic of Benin, to sort of find a solution to this. We did hear that was because our neighbor Cameroon had become sort of involved in all of this and needed to be brought into the fight, because Cameroon had become a very critical part of this fight against Boko Haram. We did hear that they reached some resolution. We didn't get details of it completely, but we did know that they released a statement saying that they had declared war against Boko Haram. Hopefully that united front is going to start giving us some headway and give us some results that we hope we can get to resolving, at least work towards resolving all of this. Those basically took over the headlines in the last week, and we're going to be talking more about that, the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, in the course of the program today, to see where we can find sort of a headway, or at least get a few answers as to the many burning questions that are holding Nigerians back with this very burning issue that doesn't seem to want to go away anytime soon. So we're going to take a quick break now and be right back with more on the show.
It's all on you now, and just give me some reaction. Just wanna you. Girl, I like the way you move, really wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing.
Welcome back. Now, as I said at the top of the program today, it's 34 days now since over 200, over 300, depending on who's giving out the figures, girls were abducted from government secondary school Chibok, and we still don't know their whereabouts. And a lot of people have now tied this to what Boko Haram has been known to stand for, whether right or wrong, about their being against Western education. And we're going to touch on that today, as we're going to be talking about the stand of Islam in general on education, girl child education, and of course touching on the Bring Back Our Girls campaign to see where we're going to be going with all of this. I have two special guests here in the house with me. Amina Adams, hosts, be blessed. Thank you very much for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
You're welcome. And of course, Abubakar Sadiq Mohammed, President, One Ummah. Glad to have you here today.
Same here.
Let's start with you, Amina, because girls have been the focus here, and it's been a very tough month in Nigeria's life. We've had, the last 3-4 years have been very, very, very rough, to say the least. But this week has now brought global attention to Nigeria for this, the fact that these girls were abducted and all of that. And there seems to be this sort of, I don't know, the international media seems to continue to push this agenda that it's because girl child education is not allowed in Islam and all of that. Is this true?
Okay, first and foremost, I'm obviously a Muslim.
Yes.
And so I'm educated, alhamdulillah. I'm an accountant, I'm a chartered accountant. So if there's anything to go by what they're saying, it's not true. My parents are conscious Muslims and they trained me. We have 3 girls in my house and we all have master's degrees. So talking about Western education not being relevant, it's not true. Now let's go back to Islam in itself. SubhanAllah, every Muslim is enjoined to seek knowledge. Go as far and as wide as you can to seek knowledge. That's what the Quran tells us. That's what the Prophet ﷺ tells us. So from there, I honestly have no idea where these people read from. I can certainly, with a 1001% surety, put my hand on my chest and say they're not reading from my Quran. They're not reading any of the Hadith books. So they need to tell us where they're reading from, but it's nothing to do with Islam.
For the benefit of those people like me, I mean, I'm not Muslim. I haven't read the Quran extensively. I have gone through it a few times. Where do they seem to be quoting for? Because they seem very, very sure that it's what the Quran says. So where do they seem to be quoting from?
But I'm also very sure, like I said, 1001%. I don't know if I can go higher than that. I am certain they're not quoting from the Quran. Now, people generally quote things to suit themselves for whatever selfish interest. They'll pick a word and blow out of proportion, build stories around. I'll give you a very quick one. I remember my former place of work, they sent a verse around, supposedly, purportedly from the Quran, saying, the Quran had already prophesied the 9/11, and it was a verse of the Quran, and they were sending it around. And guess what? They did not include me. All the mails going around. Eventually, somebody came to me and said, I say something. This is from your Quran. I said, come on, you're literate. Go online. Just Google, say Quran online, or just type this verse and say, call it up from the Quran. There's no such thing. So where they get it from, it beats me. That's the honest truth.
Abubakar, it seems like, she's spoken for the women. Do the men see it this way as well? Because, a good number, at least from arrests that we've seen and some of the videos we've seen, of people who perpetrate these are men. So do you think it's a male point of view?
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Really, just like she said, it's really unfortunate how they have misinterpreted and are misrepresenting the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of Islam. Really, when you look at the history of Islamic culture, you find that a lot of scholars, very well-known scholars were women. Right. Women who studied, women who advanced, they were very intelligent. When you look at people like Aisha radiallahu anha, who is referred to as, Ummul Mu'minun, or one of the mothers of the believers, she was so knowledgeable that men would come to learn from her. One of her, nephews, who later on became a very renowned scholar in Islamic theology, he would always narrate that anything he would learn would be from his aunt, Aisha. So Islam does not harbor, Islam doesn't prevent women from seeking knowledge, or men either. Because when you look at this sect, just as this occurrence of the girls that were abducted in Chibok, there was also an incident back in Ladi. I don't know if you heard about that, of the young boys who were in the hostel, they were all killed, slaughtered. So anyone who looks at this, unfortunately, feels these people are actually on some sort of, they have some sort of evidence from the Quran to state or to support what they're doing. But I can categorically tell you this: the Quran doesn't accept this, it doesn't allow this. In fact, we are told in the Quran to seek for knowledge. فَعَلَمْ, go and seek for knowledge, go and learn, because verily those who have knowledge are the ones who fear the Almighty. And knowledge here could be anything. Even what they refer to as Western education, really it's not Western education but modern education, because from this you derive physics, you derive chemistry, you derive a lot of things. Today we have cameras, we have, I just flew in here and came in from Abuja. It's probably going to take you about 8 hours by road, but it took me 45 minutes getting here. So when you look at this innovation, which is very good, it makes you get to a place at a specified time and it eases your life basically. So modern education did come to provide us with a lot of goodness, a lot of ease, conveniences. You have the smartphones, you have so many things. There's so many things I can go into to give us examples of what modern education has given. So sadly, this stance they have is not from Islam. It has nothing to do with Islam, and like a lot of people have condemned it all across the world. They have condemned their actions and condemned their ideology as well. Yeah.
You touched on something earlier there when you mentioned the sect, and I want to go into the sects, the issue of sects now. I know we have that in Christianity where there's Baptist, the Catholic, the Anglican, and all of that. Is that how it works there? And does Boko Haram, do they believe, or are they followers of a particular sect? Is there a belief that they're sort of following? Is there a sect that believes or that drives that belief that they are sort of trying to entrench?
Yes, their ideology, which yes is born out of that sect, they have a name which is quite long. I can't really bring it out, but the short form just Boko Haram basically.
Yeah.
And you know, part of those ideologies is based on yes, Western education is not permissible. These people are so and so. Anyone who supports it is also an enemy to us, and we are an enemy to them. So indirectly, they are basically taking the whole Muslim nation. Because for someone like me, for example, I am, you know, by the grace of God, yes, a little bit educated. I say a little bit because I still have plans to still reach out, study PhD and all that. I actually grew up here. I studied here in Lagos, King's College to be precise, and those were the best times of my life. You know, the knowledge I got from there was quite good. So basing this on what they have, it's that ideology that drives them. It's that fact that they feel they are on a right path, and they are actually holding on to something that will gain them salvation, which unfortunately they are further away from salvation than they think they're close. So these are some of the things that drives them. Yes, there are sects that exist in Islam. We had been told by the Messenger of Allah that these sects would come up, that there would come up people who they would raise their own opinions, or they would, you know, stand on their opinions on certain issues contrary to what I have brought, and they would mislead people from the right path. Be wary of such people and stick to my path and the path of my righteous companions. So this is, yes, these sects exist. This is just one of them, which is extreme. There are quite others that are extreme as well. But for what we have seen so far, their extremism, or the extremism of this group, is even nearing sort of being lunatic in a way, taking a kind of wrong and very crucial or critical dimension, because of the way they attack innocent people. It doesn't matter if you're a Muslim or a Christian, if you're in the church or if you're in the mosque, if you're a male, female, you know, these are things that don't matter to them.
Very true. I mean, they've killed all tribes, all religions, almost equally as it is now. But I want to come back to you now and come back to the girls.